His Amazing Grace. Boy, that's... When I stop and I think about where He's taken me from 15 years ago, and I was... Oh, hi, Wendy. Wendy wants to take the kids back to kids' church. Come on back, kids. Everybody have a good time. Please be nice to Wendy. She's had a rough week. Treat her nice. How many you got today? 3, 4, 5. Have a good time, guys. Not too much sugar and candy, okay? Can anybody... Can I hand these off? I got enough clutter on my music stand. Not that it's clutter, it's good stuff. Our band got to play out last night again for some special needs folks, and we're up at the Life for Youth Ranch, and I think there were about 180 special needs adults and children, and it was an awesome time of worship. And you know, sometimes we wonder up here, I know it's probably Jonathan the same way, you kind of wonder if people are getting into the music and getting into the worship, and we kind of pulled the music back and stopped with the microphones, and this 150 to 180 special needs guys out there in the audience were just praising God, hands in the air, and it was like, man, I don't have to wonder. When God's in control, I don't have to wonder anymore. We're going to continue with our study of the Lord's Prayer, and we started last week, Our Father who art in heaven. Just that simple phrase. Our recognition of Him being Dad was the key for last week. Our recognition of Him being the Almighty in heaven. And today we're going to go on to this second part of it that I struggle with, and I know lots of other people struggle with, because in counseling, individuals and groups, this is one of our biggest issues. And that is connecting with God. Connecting with God. I go into the jails, and we teach the Alpha series on Tuesdays in the county jail. And I had a guy that already came through one of our recovery centers, ended up back out on the street using and running and gunning, we call it, running on his own game, on his own plan. And then he started in another recovery center with us, and he kind of took off early, and he's out running and gunning again. As people in recovery training and counseling, at first it was really hard for us to get a hold of. Man, we thought they were getting it. You know, we thought they were getting some clarity in their lives, and bam, they're just back out there going again. And what happens with the rest of the guys in the program is they do the same thing. We thought this guy was on track, and how could he just, bam, just like that, turn back? And we find that what we see is that they want control again. And they've taken control back away from God. This is what we're going to talk about in the Lord's Prayer, the prayer of surrender. The most difficult kind of stress is the stress resulting from the things you can't avoid or you can't change. The things that just are going to happen no matter what. It causes a lot of stress. Uncontrollable circumstances. Look at things right now, how hopeless it is being stuck in a recession. The world economy is spiraling down quick. In case you haven't noticed, in case you haven't read the news or heard anything on the news, the world economy. Our friends here, the musicians that were here from England, were in the middle of buying and selling real estate before they came here. Over in England, in the United Kingdom, they had made this major purchase. It was going to be like their last hurrah, and their market dropped out from under them, just like it did here. I have friends here who had money invested in acres and acres of property. They put together utilities and roads and thinking, man, this is going to be my chance to just go retire on this and live large. And the houses just got foreclosed on them, and they were moved into a $700 a month apartment, and everything they had to be sold to get by. What do you do in circumstances like that we have no control over? No control. What about uncooperative people? Dealing with uncooperative people. When people are mean, or they just can't be pleased, or they refuse to play by the rules. How are you going to get peace in the midst of that madness? How many people have ever lived kind of with this caveat that I'll be okay as long as nobody criticizes me or wounds me or hurts me. As long as I can keep everybody reasonably happy, I'm going to tell you the truth. God can't please everybody. He doesn't even try. You know that on days like this, some people prayed for rain and some people are wishing for sunshine. Somebody's going to be unhappy. It's never going to happen all the way around. What about unexplainable pain when life just doesn't make sense? When things in life just don't make sense. The why me starts popping into it. And we tend to go back to, boy, I must have done something really bad for me to be in this position. When we can't change the source of the stress, the only solution is this: surrender and accept it. We don't really have any other choice. It's coming at me. This is the way life is. It's not how am I going to get through it and how am I going to deal with it. It's what am I going to do in the midst of it, and who am I trusting? Who am I going to trust? Are those speakers too loud? Is it just, it's okay? All right. I'm just, I'm not used to having just my voice without Joe telling me what to do behind me. Check this out. God's kingdom is not political or governmental. It is eternal. God's kingdom is eternal. It has nothing to do with politics, politically correct. It has nothing to do with the government says it's okay or not okay. This is God. God's kingdom. God's kingdom is not conceptual and not simply the words of God. It's transformational. It's the work of God in the world. It's what He's done, what He's doing, what He'll continue to do that's changing us. That's changing the world. That's changing our attitudes. That's changing our lifestyle. God's kingdom is not material. It's spiritual. You know, the Bible talks about we wage war not against the flesh and blood, but against principalities and demons and spiritual. There's a spiritual warfare going on for our sanity, really, for our well-being and our well-good. And we don't see that, but if anybody likes to read really good novels, pick up a couple of Frank Peretti novels. One's called Piercing the Darkness. Another one's called This Present Darkness. It's a fictional novel based on spiritual reality. And I'm telling you what, it'll change your ideas about prayer power and spiritual warfare. It really affected my life when I first read them a few times.
Who's the author?
Frank Peretti. And he has some really great inspirational tapes out there, grace messages. And I was really surprised to find out that he's a Church of Christ minister in Texas, which Church of Christ is generally very legalistic and fundamental, but he has an awesome grace message. It's wherever Jesus is King and God's will is done in heaven, on earth, and within us. In this discussion, we're going to see how Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done means making 4 stress-breaking choices about surrendering to Jesus. Surrendering to Jesus is letting go of control. I know if any of you are anything like me, you've probably heard at least once in your life that you're a control freak. Oh, is it just me? And what I get out of it is, usually I get it from somebody who's been trying to control me and I'm saying no. I'm a control freak because I won't do what you want me to do. Can anybody say denial and projection? I can.